Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, I may be tardy to this party, but nevertheless, I have arrived. But it's okay. I brought pizza, or whatever they have at parties nowadays. I don't get invited to parties. He's at all, really. But we're not here to talk about my social life. If we're here to talk about AEW's first official, I guess, pay-per-view of the year, if you don't count Wrestle Dynasty, and Ricky Starks might not be in AEW anymore, but the Revolution is still televised. It's time to finally review AEW Revolution. Now, you may be asking, Nigel, well, this was weeks ago. What happened? And did you not get to it? Were you avoiding this event? Were you purposely avoiding this event, or did you just not get to it in your schedule and you're finally getting around to it now and finally, at long last, deciding you'd be gracious enough to grace us with a review? Weird language on my hypothetical aside there. The answer is a little bit of both. Admittedly, there is that main event that we do have to address, and a part of me has been dreading talking about it, but it's something where every time I say I'm gonna review it for this week, something comes up and I don't. But you know what? I figured tonight it was now or never. Let's do it. Pedal to the metal. Let's go, baby. And kind of a different look to like the Revolution logo and overall presentation and everything here. This is I forget whether or not this was a sponsorship, if I'm not mistaken, but it kind of reminds me of like Cyberpunk 2077, kind of the format of like the logo and everything, compared to the other like look we've had for Revolution in the past. I'm still kind of torn whether I prefer that one or this one, but the purple and the yellow and kind of the different font that they use for the Revolution lettering. Admittedly, I'm not sure how to feel about it just yet. I don't know if this will be the norm going forward, or if they'll go back to the previous one, like the green and black and everything. So changing it up this year. So we are in the Crypto.com arena in Los Angeles, California. Here we are, and let's get into it, I guess. So, right off the bat, hey, we got our card here, and we got our matches. We're gonna go through match by match and talk about what I thought about each individual match here. But the other thing I do have to address is this was the first event that is streaming on Prime Video, because AEW's now got the deal with Prime Video, so the pay-per-views are on there now. And I thought about buying it on Amazon Prime Video, just for the sake of the watch, to see, to compare and contrast what it'd be like if I watched on Prime Video versus my normal method, that being Triller TV slash Fight TV. But ultimately, I stuck with Triller TV, and a part of me kind of wish I hadn't, because I don't think with all the events that I've kind of seen on Triller TV, admittedly it's kind of a recent thing, because of, ironically enough, because of Revolution last year, when they started phasing out Bleacher Report, there's pay-per-views, and I switched over to Triller TV for my AEW pay-per-views, but there were a lot of slowdowns and a lot of times where I would be kind of booted, and there was a lot of people who were experiencing issues. They had like the little chat, they have like the little mini chats you can chat along with those watching the pay-per-view, and those chats get kind of weird sometimes, I can't lie. Not something I haven't seen before in the span of the IWC, I guess, but it gets pretty wild and wacky over around those parts. But but a lot of people were complaining about their feed kept dropping, and it definitely dropped for me a few times, and it was pretty annoying. Hopefully it's fixed by the next one. And I did get the 2-pack for Revolution and Dynasty, so I'm kind of locked in, I guess, in a way. But yeah, it was really, really bad this time around, and I'm not sure. For those of you who watched on Prime Video, let me know what your experience was. I sadly was running into a lot of issues, as for the pre-show, I didn't watch the pre-show. Oh, unfortunately, I usually don't. But I'm gonna quick go through those results. So, Commander and Hologram defeated Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. Excuse me. Danny Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom defeated Shane Taylor Promotions and Big Boom AJ and the Conglomeration, that being Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe, defeated Johnny TV and MXM Collection. So, and there was a fourth match scheduled, that being for the Ring of Honor World Championship between Chris Jericho, the defending champion, and immediately saying Chris Jericho, defending Ring of Honor World Champion, and I almost threw up in my mouth a little. And then he was supposed to be facing Gravity, but the match didn't happen, as Jericho and the Learning Tree assaulted Gravity, and they ripped his mask off. They took his mask. Between this and Rey Mysterio and Juventud Carrera in WCW, what is with Chris Jericho and taking people's masks? What the hell, man? But yeah, so Chris Jericho beat him down, took his mask, so the match didn't happen. So I guess the feud is continuing from there. And now it looks like Bandito is getting involved. And maybe this is me being dumb on my part. This is how I learned that Gravity and Bandito were brothers. I did not know that prior. Have I mentioned I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed? Although, if you've seen these videos of mine before, you probably have kind of pieced that together. But now I know, though. Something new I learned. But please, whether it's Bandito or Gravity, please, for the love of God, somebody take the Ring of Honor World Championship off of Chris Jericho. I am begging you. I'll do it if you need me to. That's a joke. That's a joke. I'm not actually wrestling for AEW. That would be kind of sick, though. But getting to the show proper, actually, Hangman Adam Page battles MJF to kick off the show. Now, I do have to make a correction to my predictions. I actually did not know Hangman officially turned face. I guess he officially turned face when he faced Max Caster and squashed him. Which Max Caster getting squashed by everybody almost every week admittedly is kind of funny. But it's also kind of sad at the same time, because even though Max Caster is showing up and getting squashed every week by different competitors, whether it be Hangman or whether it be Swerve or etc., he's still being featured on TV more than Anthony Bowens, which is not what the people wanted. When people want the Acclaim to split it, and admittedly, splitting the Acclaim probably was the best move, because it did feel like the bloom had very much fallen off the rose, and the Acclaim had I've kind of gotten stale. But a lot of people wanted Anthony Bowens to get a push, for him to get a push, and for Max Caster to fade into irrelevancy. Because sadly a lot of people aren't fans of him, and partially due to his in-ring stuff, but also the escapades he's gotten to on social media. I think that mainly is where the genesis of a lot of it began. That and some of the questionable things he said in his raps. Although, if you've heard some actual rappers, there's some of the stuff they've said, it actually makes some of Max's stuff seem kind of tame. But nevertheless, apparently, I don't think Anthony Bowens or Billy Gunn have really been featured much, if at all, since the Acclaim split, which is kind of a shame. Do let me know if I'm incorrect about that in the comments. I know I more than likely am, but it is kind of disappointing. Like Max just getting squashed, but what about Bowens? But nevertheless, as for this match, that's a great way to kick off the show. These two absolutely brought it. Absolutely tore the house down. Had a pretty fun had a pretty fun match. MJF even crashing out a little bit, asking why the fans embraced Hangman and didn't embrace him, which admittedly it's decent kind of character work, or like they're definitely playing off kind of the insecurity of MJF, and that's kind of the angle they're going with. But it also seems for all intents and purposes, it almost kind of seems like MJF's whole face run when he's with Adam Cole is kind of getting scrubbed from the records. Not because of that, because as MJF was embraced for a little bit. You got the "He's our scumbag" chance, which I think had kind of died down to this point, but they were. But they still do chant it sometimes. Some even chanted for him when he was in the UK. But more specifically, London for All In last year when he fought Will Ospreay. Nevertheless, it seems like that's kind of the angle they're going for. But ultimately, Hangman picking up the win over MJF. The tombstone on the chair by MJF to Hangman was pretty nasty. I can't lie. But ultimately, Hangman does kind of pick up the win. So where Hangman goes from here we'll have to wait and see. But getting the win, and pretty fun opener for the night, and at least in terms of the main show. Obviously, they have the pre-show and everything, which I kind of discussed. But next up, for the AEW TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné battles Momo Watanabe. Of course, Momo won on her Fatal 4-Way back at Wrestle Dynasty, and so decided to challenge the TBS champion Mercedes Moné, who is still undefeated in AEW, who battle her here for her championship. And this match was pretty fun as well. Seeing the progression and kind of the improvement for the reign for Mercedes Moné is pretty cool to see. Mercedes did pick up the win and over Momo, and is still TBS champion. Pretty decent match there. But next up, Swerve Strickland takes on Ricochet. Ricochet and Swerve have kind of been going at it, including Ricochet getting TP with toilet paper back at World's End, and Ricochet's kind of gone off the deep end, attacked Swerve with the golden scissors, stole Prince Nana's robe, and Swerve is trying to get that back. So not only is personal pride on the line, but the number one contendership for the AEW World Championship is also on the line. First of all, these two put on a really fun match. Seeing these two work together was really cool. Really cool to see. Seeing how they battle against each other. And Ricochet, I definitely gotta give it to Ricochet. I didn't think he could pull off. I and a lot of people didn't think he could pull off the heel persona, but I'm definitely glad he did, and I'm glad he's getting the chance to show a lot more of his personality and everything. And sometimes you just gotta steer them in the right direction, in the right lane. And the promos, while not great, they've definitely improved. I will definitely hand Ricochet that. He's so far proven that he definitely can be. He almost, if not a full-on main eventer, definitely kind of an upper mid-carder in a way. But Ricochet, having a pretty fun encounter with Swerve here. But the other thing was Prince Nana, kind of the on the the interactions between Prince Nana and Swerve, including Swerve almost knocking down Prince Nana, actually knocking him down at one point, and Swerve eventually or Prince Nana, I should say, eventually walking out on. Oh, excuse me. Walking. Almost choked there, but excuse me. But walking out on Swerve partway through the match. Swerve ultimately, though, did pick up the win and on Ricochet, and so he's number one contender. He got the roll back. He presented to Prince Nana, but Prince Nana kind of draped it over Swerve. So that was a pretty cool moment. But yeah, so no turn from Prince Nana, and Swerve gets the win, and he is now number one contender for the AEW World Championship, which is crazy to think he's going into Dynasty 2 years in a row as a challenger for the AEW World Championship. Who's the world champion? We will find out. We certainly will, but that's not till later on in the show, so we're not quite there yet in terms of this review. But next up, which is on the line though, and also worth mentioning, Ricochet, he might not have the shot at the World Championship, but he does now have a shot at the Continental Championship, not the Continental Championship, but the International Championship after he and Mike Bailey both pinned and Mark Davis at the same time, and so now Ricochet and Speedball are going to be facing the international champion at Dynasty. Who will it be? We will find out. But as for now, the Continental Championship is on the line, as I kind of flubbed there or just a moment ago, as Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, takes on Brody King, and so these two have kind of been going after each other, including Okada going after Buddy Matthews, and so now it's causing to be in the crosshairs of Brody King. And this one was a pretty fun match as well. Not quite like I kind of mentioned when I did my predictions. It's not quite a full-on David versus Goliath, but obviously Brody King, a man with quite a bit of size to him, kind of going against Okada, who used more like the strikes and his technical prowess versus Brody King, his power and agility, of course, that Brody King does possess. As of course, one of my favorite archetypes, the big men who are uber athletic, which Brody King absolutely is, and it made for a pretty fun match here. Ultimately, Okada getting the win and retaining the Continental Championship here against Brody King. But next up, for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Hurt Syndicate, that being Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, and battle the Outrunners, that being Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. This actually was my first time watching a match from the Outrunners. Like, I'd obviously seen some highlights, but this is my first time watching like a full-on match, and I gotta say, their shtick, first of all, their entrance with like the 80s, like a kind of a grainy look to when they like come out and everything, and admittedly was a very nice touch, very cool very cool entrance for them, but also their shtick throughout the match, kind of like including them doing like the Hulk up and everything, admittedly was pretty funny, but ultimately not quite enough to beat the Hurt Syndicate, and we do see MVP kind of at one point kind of motivating Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin to get their head back in the game when the Outrunners kind of have them on the ropes and everything, not like literally, but kind of MVP saying, he's embarrassing them. So kind of carrying over kind of the dynamic that they had for the Hurt Business in the WWE, carrying over to the Hurt Syndicate, which, I mean, was a given, but it is cool to see, and ultimately they pick up the win over the Outrunners. So the Hurt Syndicate is still the tag team champions, and they still hurt people. And it was pretty cool to hear the crowd chanting, "We hurt people," alongside Bobby Lashley, or all the Hurt Syndicate, I should say. Hey, so that was pretty cool. But next up, one of the moments you've all been waiting for, or perhaps as these next three matches, some are considering to be the greatest stretch of three matches, perhaps in all of AEW pay-per-view history, and I might be inclined to agree. We will find out. Starting with what a lot of people consider to be the real main event of the show, and I'm kind of inclined to agree. That being the AEW Women's World Championship, the Hollywood-ending Falls Count Anywhere match, as Timeless Toni Storm one last time battles was the Glamour, the Woman from Hell, her former protege, Mariah May, and these two have been warring for months, stemming back to Mariah May winning the Owen Hart Memorial Cup from last year and getting the shot at the Women's World Championship, and she won it from Toni Storm at All In last year. Ever since, Toni Storm had kind of reverted to her old gimmick. Turns out it was just a ruse. It was the hardest character to play is yourself, and so Timeless is back. She beat Mariah May for the title at Grand Slam Australia, and so now this is for all the marbles to end off. And these two women absolutely, positively tore the house down. This match was absolutely fantastic. This match was really a whole lot of fun. It was brutal. There were some very brutal moments, some very hard to watch moments, and kind of as well, including moments with the glass where both ladies kind of put their hands in the glass, had the duct tape on their hands and put them in the glass and everything, and kind of similar to what Orange Cassidy did. I believe it was in. I want to say it was in the. I want to say it was in his match against the Blackpool Combat Club when he, Best Friends, and then Santana and Ortiz took on the Blackpool Combat Club. Or actually, no, I kind of had that backwards. Santana and Ortiz were with Blackpool Combat Club, and then it was Orange Cassidy, Trent, and Pac, Penta, and Eddie Kingston, and at All In 2023. I'm like 90% sure I butchered her who all was in that match name, all of that. Definitely he flubbed there, but nevertheless, this match that was one spot, and then Toni Storm nailing Mariah May with the glass bottle. Oh, and even the glass flying up into Toni Storm's nether regions, which could not have felt comfortable. But then there was the shoe. Ultimately, Toni Storm nailing Mariah May with the shoe. Ultimately, putting her away with the pile driver through the table that said the end, and ultimately he putting Mariah May away to end off this very, very fantastic and fun match. Like this match, if you don't watch any other match from this card, which I do recommend that you do, you definitely should check out this match, because this was so fantastic. Like both women definitely, if this was the main event, I don't think anybody would be mad at it. I think a lot of people would have been happy if this was, and a lot of people felt like this was the main event, partially because of what happened in the actual main event, which we will get to. Don't worry, we're almost there. But also because it literally said on like the screen as the match ended, the end, and so these two women absolutely deserve the main event spot, and the fact that admittedly there's a couple matches on this card that you could probably make an argument for, but especially this match. This match was fantastic. Definitely watch this match. But next for the AEW International Championship, Kenny Omega returns to AEW to battle Konosuke Takeshita, or at least pay-per-view, that is, because he was at Grand Slam, but he returns to AEW pay-per-view to battle Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship, the Alpha. Now, right off the bat, Kenny Omega's new theme song absolutely kicks ass, as it's kind of like a version, rendition, and what have you, of, or inspired, that was the word I was looking for, kind of inspired by like his New Japan theme, especially with like the Final Fantasy, like the One Wing Angel kind of inspired theme. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But also, this match with Takeshita, this feud been going back all the way back to like 2023, when Don Callis turned on Kenny Omega and kind of founded the Don Callis family with Takeshita, and other members would follow later on. But kind of stemming back, and these two absolutely brought it. This match was a lot of fun. Kenny, to Kenny's credit, this is a man who came back from diverticulitis, was out for pretty much all of 2024, or yet seemed like he hasn't missed a beat. Seeing him go against Takeshita, which love Omega, really, also like Takeshita, the stuff I am seeing of him, I'd be lying if I said I was a day one, because as in the grand scheme of things, getting into AEW somewhat recently and not super big on like New Japan and everything, but Takeshita absolutely, he brought it. Omega absolutely brought it. This match was a lot of fun as well. And Omega picking up the win to become the new international champion. And Takeshita looked very upset. I don't know if the turn is coming, but I thought the turn was going to happen here with Don Callis turning on Takeshita, but it is not to happen. And Omega even did get his hands on Don Callis at one point. But Omega is the new international champion, so congrats to him. And very fun match. But then next up, Don Callis is going to be at ringside again on commentary, because next up is the steel cage match as the aerial assassin Will Ospreay battles the proto-star Kyle Fletcher. So, of course, Fletcher Ospreay were very good friends. They detail the history behind them, including Ospreay letting Fletcher live with him during the pandemic and everything. And just for Fletcher to then turn on him because Will Ospreay didn't want to be evil. So Fletcher turned on Ospreay, shaving his head, saying he wants to be nothing like Ospreay, shaving his beautiful blonde hair. Or like the new haircut, I think definitely looks, I think works for the most part on Fletcher. But man, he did have some very nice hair, I must admit. But I'm surprised he didn't go fully bald like Don Callis. But nevertheless, so it boils down to this. They faced off previously. They faced off at Full Gear, and then they faced off in the quarterfinals. Yes, the quarterfinals of the Continental Classic at World's End. And so this is the rubber match, and this is the steel cage rubber match. And these two absolutely brought it as well. Very not super similar, but there are some parallels between this and the Hollywood ending match, and that is not a bad thing, because this was another vicious, bloody fight, and actually my dad was watching, so he had come down. He had, I think, just got home from work, and so he watched this match along with me, and these two absolutely beat the crap out of each other. My dad actually watched the rest of the pay-per-view with me, and that's going to be important for just a moment, because this is the semi-main event, and I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. But yeah, my dad was watching along with me. He didn't quite cringe as much as I thought he would, although he's not really squeamish. I'm not super squeamish either, but some of the moments did look kind of gross. Also including Kyle Fletcher like busting Ospreay open, kind of licking at his fingers. But Kyle Fletcher also did get busted open in the match. Mark Davis got involved. Ospreay took him out. He busts him open as well. Ultimately, Ospreay puts away Kyle Fletcher in a very personal, very physical battle, including Ospreay getting the screwdriver and nailing Kyle Fletcher to give him his payback there. So Ospreay picks up the win, and if this is where the feud ends, which I think it should, I think this is probably a very fitting end to this feud. You had the rubber match. He gave Ospreay the win here. I think if this is the feud ender, and I do feel like, and a lot of people do agree that like a match kind of like the steel cage should be the feud ender. So if this is the feud ender, I think this is probably a very good way to end off the feud. Kind of let Ospreay move on, kind of let Kyle Fletcher move on. But these two absolutely brought it. Kyle Fletcher looks absolutely elevated. And Ospreay elevated in his own right, and putting on a very fantastic steel cage match. Kind of uncomfortable at times, but was a battle. But now it's time for your main event, the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Or it's time for the AEW World Championship match as Jon Moxley of the Death Riders battles the Radar Superstar. I'm not calling him Cope. I'm not doing it. It's Adam Copeland, and I'm sorry. I know that's officially his name. It's listed here on the wiki. He's been called that. Guess what? I don't care. I'm telling you right here, right now. I don't care if this gets me hate. It probably won't give me that much hate, but I don't care. Or if this gets me hate, I'm saying it right now. I don't care what they're calling him. I don't care how they're referring to him. I am not calling him Cope. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. He's Adam Copeland. So it's Jon Moxley versus Adam Copeland. And I know it's his decision, but guess what? I don't care about that either. I'm not calling him Cope. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But these two have been battling for a while, including FTR getting involved when Adam Copeland returned at World's End, and they fought in 6-man tag action against the other Death Riders at Grand Slam Australia, and Adam Copeland has taken out the rest of the Death Riders. And I forgot how Maria Shafir was taken out. I think Willow Nightingale took her out, if I'm not mistaken. But so the Death Riders are a non-factor in this match. Let's see how it goes. As they face off here. You remember when? First of all, you remember when I said my dad watched the Ospreay Fletcher match as previously? He was for that one. He was active. He was watching. He did go on his phone, but I do sometimes as well. I'll kind of do other stuff. I still obviously watch and everything. I'm still very much like watching and invested. But he did. But otherwise, he did watch the match and he was still invested. In this match, the main event of your show, the last thing people are going to remember before you call it quits and you draw the curtain for the night, he fell asleep. he fell asleep. Now, I kind of felt it in the match, but seeing my dad fall asleep right here, he was right next to me here. I kind of scooched over a little bit so he could also see my laptop screen here, but seeing my dad fell asleep pretty much confirmed this match was a bore. How on earth did something that should have been an easy slam dunk? You have these incredible string of 3 matches that were fantastic. You bring it on home with the main event. Put on a damn good main event. How did they mess it up so badly? And the other thing I mentioned earlier was that a lot of people felt like the Women's World Championship should have main evented. First of all, it was literally in its name, the Hollywood ending. Second of all, it was a storyline that was that had been brewing for months with a lot of build and everything, a lot of very fun, compelling, interesting build, but also because it was not a snooze fest like this one. This one was very, very dull and very, very boring. This was very slow. It was slow throughout. John Mox got way too much offense and on Adam Copeland, and like Adam barely. It almost seemed like he barely stood a chance. What the hell happened? And but of course, they're moving very slow. The action was very slow and very uninteresting. And they went on for a while. They went on for 26 minutes, but it felt more like 56. And then for the brown cherry on top of the crappy Sunday, then Christian Cage shows up. The referee is taken out. Christian Cage then shows up, or actually, first I should say, I believe Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian showed up. Then Christian Cage showed up with his contract. He did cash in his contract. Or I think I have it backwards. No, I'm thinking of the follow-up match that Adam Copeland and John Moxley did. Don't worry, we're gonna address that too. Don't worry. But Christian Cage cashes in his contract that he won. Back at All In the Casino Gauntlet match. But he cashed in his contract, so now it becomes a triple threat. That should make things interesting, right? Wrong, because then and only a few more minutes of action, and then John Moxley he ultimately ends up choking out Christian Cage. He does pin Adam Copeland momentarily, but then John Moxley pulls him away and kind of puts him in the bulldog choke and chokes out Christian, and so Moxley retains. The contract is lost. Great. So not only do you have a very boring ass main event, but then you have Christian Cage kind of look like a dolt in the way he cashed in. Like, here's the thing, right? Do I think Christian Cage should have succeeded in his cash in? In hindsight, yeah. Honestly, sadly, this world title reign of John Moxley and the Death Rider storyline has been kind of a dud. But Christian Cage winning it here. If Christian Cage won I'd be very happy with that. He's someone who's definitely been working his ass off, and him getting the win and winning the championship here would have been very cool. A lot of people would have been excited to see it. And I thought that was gonna be it, like him pinning Adam Copeland while he was being choked out in the bulldog choke by John Moxley. I thought that was gonna be it. Obviously, that turned out to not be the case. But even if Christian Cage loses here, did you have to make him look totally weak, pathetic in the process, looking almost like a total idiot? Him being the one to get choked out, not having him and take advantage, or Moxley beating him with the Death Rider or the Paradigm Shifter or whatever, or it made Christian Cage look kind of weak. He can kind of dumb, which they're trying to kind of recover, because now they're kind of teasing tension between him and Nick Wayne, but it did look pretty dumb. And Moxley ends up escaping again. There was one cool moment though, as Swerve dove out of the crowd onto John Moxley. As he was trying to escape with his championship briefcase. It's kind of a headcanon, and Moxley's walking around with the briefcase because I guess in his mind the championship doesn't deserve to be seen. I'm willing to bet he probably lost it at this point. He probably has no idea where it is, which is why he's still carrying around the briefcase. But Swerve diving out, at least something cool happened. But no, it gets better, because they did have a rematch a couple weeks later on Dynamite. I watched this one as well. Thankfully, unlike the previous time, this one didn't main event the show. But this match was... it was kind of better than this one. Still wasn't very good, but it was kind of better, or probably in the way, but it was better in the way that a kick to the stomach is better than a kick to the nuts. That's kind of what we're talking about here. But at least with this one, Mox impaled himself on the spikes, and it looked really gross on live, free, public television, mind you, not on pay-per-view, but free public television in front of the entire world to see. Which I guess respect to Mox for taking that bump, but why would you want to take that bump? But this time, Adam Copeland did take the pin. Apparently, the story has it. I haven't found I don't like a concrete confirmation of this. I'm sure it's probably out there somewhere. Apparently, Adam Copeland didn't want to take the pin, and apparently Jon Moxley didn't want to take the pin. So they're kind of at a standstill. Adam, between this and the Ricky Stark situation, what are you doing, my man? And then with with Finn Balor at WrestleMania 39, Adam, buddy, put over the younger talent. What are you doing? And man, what the hell? Okay. I almost called him Cope. I almost did it, but I'm not doing it. But what the hell, Adam? What's going on with you? But apparently he didn't want to take the pin. I guess this time he decided to take the pin. But yeah. So that match was somewhat better. But yeah. So Christian Cage no longer has a contract, so we no longer have that to save us. But please, Swerve, look at me. Come here. Look at me. If you're watching this, which you probably aren't, look at me. Please do it too. Please repeat history like what you did last year at Dynasty. Please take the title off of Jon Moxley. Please, for the love of God, end this. I don't care if you got to carry around the briefcase with you. I'm sure it's a nice briefcase. You can find some use for it. You can store like your clothes or something in it, or you can turn it into a lunchbox like Otis did. But please beat him at Dynasty. Please. I'm probably going to repeat this verbatim at when I do the Dynasty predictions, but at Swerve, please, I'm begging you. I am begging. I am pleading. I will get down on my hands and knees if I have to. Please, Swerve. Please, please take the world title from him. But nevertheless, we'll have to see what happens when we get to Dynasty. Which is actually coming up next week. Next week Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, and the 6th. I believe it's, or it might be Saturday. Let me see. Not this upcoming Sunday, but next week Sunday. And it's crazy that 2 AEW pay-per-views are going to be happening before WrestleMania. That's nuts to think about. Like, in the time frame between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, that not one but 2 AEW pay-per-views are going to be happening. That's a little crazy, but that's going to do it for Revolution. In terms of the match of the night, the strongest and weakest match of the night, the strongest is honestly, I gotta go with the Hollywood ending. Like, a match that I think absolutely should have been the main event. Now, admittedly, I could also see arguments for the International Championship because it's Omega's first AEW pay-per-view, who since 2023, now that he's back to wrestling and everything after coming back from diverticulitis, I could also even make an argument for the steel cage match between Ospreay and Fletcher main eventing. But I think if any match deserved to main event, and is especially the Women's World Championship match, which is crazy because it was only 12 minutes, meaning it's technically the third shortest match of the night, at least on the main show proper. But it's crazy. They definitely made every second of those 12 minutes work because that match was phenomenal. Well, it might be I know it's still early. It's only March. Might be a match of the year candidate. I'm not entirely sure. Or it's definitely a strong contender, obviously. But in terms of the weakest match, if it wasn't obvious by all that like shtick and complaining I did just moments ago, it was the main event. How did you manage to fumble that hard? The thing is, I don't hate Jon Moxley. I don't hate Adam Copeland. I don't hate Christian Cage. But it seems like it's not working. It's just not working. Admittedly, I kind of, a part of me wants to do like a video on it at some point, but I'm not entirely sure yet. But I'll consider it. But it's just not working. Sorry, heel Death Rider Jon Moxley, we're just not that into you. But yeah, so weakest match of the night definitely goes to them. And it's unfortunate. Like, it's a match that could have and should have been good or way better. Or I think what also helped with Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland Part 2, which is crazy that they were like, hey, you know this match that everybody was dunking on, said it was terrible? Let's run it back. What's crazy is that match that they did was a street fight, right? And Adam Copeland even attacked Jon Moxley before the match. How has nobody tried that yet? Also, I forgot to mention, taking out the Death Riders before the match. Admittedly, how has no one tried that yet either? But them doing a street fight a couple weeks after running like a rematch, and this time a street fight between those two after a couple weeks after this absolute stinker of a main event. My question is a street fight on paper, I don't hate it. Why didn't you do that at Revolution? And like, why did you wait until a couple weeks later on Dynamite to do that? Why didn't you do it at Revolution? And I don't know, but nevertheless, yeah, that match definitely was not great at all. Was not good at all. It was a very dull, boring main event. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for this review. This rant, this rambling, what have you. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you never miss an upload, or else I will send the Death Riders after you, and they will bring their paper bag. Not their paper bag, their plastic bag. Paper bag, that's Cody Rhodes. But they will bring their plastic bag if you don't like, comment, and subscribe. So yeah, you better do that. You better do that. But nevertheless, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on my review. There was something else I forgot to mention. There was a controversy with the Queen of the Ring movie when they, I believe it's Queen of the Ring is the name of the movie. Yeah, and it's a movie that came out. Yes, I know it actually released on March 7th, and they did interview the. Admittedly, a part of me didn't want to bring this up, but I'd be remiss if I didn't. And unfortunately, they did have a couple of cast members, and the one, I forget her name, did say something that did rub some people the wrong way. That being that they know who's going to win before anybody else does. As I saw that, admittedly, I was like, when she said it, I wasn't outraged. I was more so confused as to why she would say something like that. Pretty much kind of alluding to it being a pretty much like almost in a way outright confirming it to be a work. Or obviously, then they did some more digging, and she did something similar, and she meant in terms of they know they're gonna win because they're confident in their abilities and everything, and I think it was just kind of a slip up in terms of what is said. I know a lot of people kind of ripped her to shreds, kind of unfairly, but seeing that and then seeing that here, it definitely made sense, and it was a verbal flub. I know I've had plenty, not just here on camera on the channel, but in life, like, things come out not the way that they are supposed to, and I may intend them one way, but they come out a different way, and I go, that did not come out the way it was supposed to. So I do kind of resonate, So I wasn't outraged. I was more so kind of confused as to why she would say that. And then there were some people drawing the parallel between, in kind of similar to what Triple H and the WWE are doing, where they kind of do the same thing, alluding to it being a work and using like insider terms like shoot or face or heel and everything. Hell, John Cena just did it on Raw. Not too long ago in his heel run and everything. That was brought up and that made a whole stink. And ultimately, I don't think it's that big a deal, just a flub, that's all. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that. But otherwise, let me know what you thought about the show and my review. Was it too harsh? Was it not harsh enough in some areas? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace.